I'm Reisigo, and I'm attempting to complete every single GameCube game, but I'm randomizing what game I'm playing next. In this episode, we're magically turned into the size of an ant and must earn the respect of the colony to get back to our normal size in the Ant Bully. So let's see how our experience with the Ant Bully went in 2024. The Ant Bully was released on July 24th, 2006 and was developed by Artificial Mind and Movement and published by Midway. The Ant Bully is an action-adventure game based on the movie of the same name and was released alongside the movie. This game, from my understanding, follows the events of the movie when it comes to plot and the actions that our main character has to take. But I've never seen this movie, so I have no idea if that's accurate. We have to complete the story mode for us to consider this one complete for the challenge. Just go through all the missions of the game, so it's really not that bad, or at least that's what I thought, but we'll get into that at the end of this video. Our game opens up with a cutscene of a bunch of kid ants going on a guided tour to learn the history of their ant colony. So the events we're going to play in this game are actually a flashback from before, and everything is being told to the children as a story. This is an interesting approach for this game. Anyways, as we play through the game, we're going to get more and more story about what happened, but to start this off, we learn about a boy by the name of Lucas Nickel, formerly known as the Destroyer in the eyes of the ant colony. We're told that the queen of the colony summoned the boy and sentenced him to become an ant, and the only way for him to return to normal size is to learn how to be like an ant, think like an ant, and act like an ant. Lucas Nickel will be our main character in this game, and we'll get the chance to upgrade him as we complete missions in the game. After being told about his punishment, the kids ask like 4 gazillion questions, but are cut off, and we finally are given control of Lucas in the game. When Lucas arrives at the nest, he must figure out what his skills are and what type of ant and what role he'll play in the colony. So our first task in the game is to collect ant eggs and return those to chutes that take them to the nursery. Let's talk about the gameplay for this game, because there isn't much to it, and the story is what's going to be most important during our time with this game. If you didn't know, Ant Bully is a 3D action-adventure game that involves collecting things, beating up larger, much scarier insects with our staff and other weapons we get along the way, and a bunch of platforming. The ant colony itself becomes the hub of the world, and after we complete a mission, we'll spawn back to the Chamber of Ages, and then we can decide where we want to go from there. Each area we unlock during the game is attached to the nest in some way or another, and if we're not actively taking on missions, we can go anywhere we've previously been in the game and look for upgrades, fire crystals, or just look around and get familiar with the area. When controlling Lucas, we can perform a handful of actions such as jumping or performing an action with A, hitting enemies with our staff with B, locking on to enemies with the L button, moving with the analog stick, X uses our seed bombs, Y shoots our larva silk shooter, and the Z button allows us to use our dart bow. So it's a decently simple control scheme. Let's take a look at the HUD as this game calls it. At the top left, it shows a picture of Lucas and red circles. These indicate our health, and we can increase how many we have by collecting these green honeydew drops that we can find while exploring in this game. The best way to compare this would be heart containers in the Legend of Zelda games. The bottom left shows us the map of the current area that we're in, nothing special there. The top right will show us what weapon we have equipped and the ammo level for guns. And the bottom right will show us our mission objective, or how many of something we've collected. Not too much, and it never felt overwhelming while playing the game. I think that covers the main gameplay mechanics for right now, but we'll talk about new things as they come up when we're going through this. Once we collect the ant eggs, we're given a staff so that we can fight some invading insects that are attacking the eggs. These insects are pill bugs. They're weak but a common insect that we'll see a lot during this game. Also, the yellow pellets in this arena we're fighting in restore a bit of our health. The yellow ones recover a little bit of health, and if you find red ones, they completely restore your health. After easily taking out the pill bugs and saving the ant eggs, we're given the "You completed the mission" animation, and then a medal shows up above our head. These medals determine how well you completed the mission, gold being the best, silver if you died once, and bronze if you died more than one time. These medals give you points, and these points will unlock new skills for Lucas. However, this game doesn't tell you this at all. It's something I found out when looking through the manual after I completed the game. So we got a gold medal on the first mission and got 50 of these unaccounted for points. We need 300 for each additional upgrade. After completing the mission, we're given another cutscene that just explains that we need to learn how to be an ant if we want to go home. It's a bit pointless because they already told us about this in the opening cutscene, but I guess this is when it actually happened. Once the cutscene is done, we have free roam of the ant nest and can go explore any area that we've already been to, which is only the ant nesting area. While looking around, we find a honeydew and increase our health from 4 to 5 red circles. This game isn't that challenging, so you won't really need health, but during the boss fights, it never hurts. When we decide to advance the game, we can come to this little section of the ant nest, and all of our main characters will be hanging out. We have to talk to each one of them to see what new missions they have available for us. Our next mission of the game comes from an ant called Fugak. He's an ant that wants to take credit for doing great things, but never actually does anything great. He's also a bit clueless, but he offers us a new mission called Unwanted Guest. In this mission, we have to fend off an invasion from pillbugs. Our goal for this mission is to eliminate 20 of them in the time limit. We have a timer for this mission, which I thought was odd, but even once we hit our goal, it continues to let us take down more pillbugs. Don't know why. This mission is pretty simple, and it just teaches us about the combat for this game. We get another gold medal and can move on to the next mission of the game. Each one of these missions take place on a different part of the map, but that last one was right outside of the colony section of the map and doesn't even have a name. Anyways, once we return back to the anthill, we can grab our next mission from an ant by the name of Zoc. He comes off as magical, but it sort of seems like he just has a knack for building things. He's a huge jerk to Lucas and doesn't think it's even worth giving him a chance to learn the way of the ant. But he gives us the mission Critter Attack. In this mission, we have to save these giant caterpillars from predator bugs, which are just these little mite-looking things, but I'm not sure if that's what they're supposed to be. Or if maybe they're fleas or something, I don't know. Once we clear out the predator bugs that are extremely simple, we're tasked with finding 3 parts that will help Zoc build us something that will help us get home. They're placed around the level and we have to figure out how to collect them all. We're going to get some new mechanics soon though. The first new mechanic we learn is the ability to climb the wall in areas that indicate that we can. Since we just unlocked the skill, we can only hold on for 9 seconds and then we'll fall, so we have to make sure we figure out if there are spots we can rest for a longer climb. But for this first one, we can make it to the top of this stump with no problem. Once on the top, we collect the first part we need, and then the game shows us where the next one is. Since this piece isn't far, but over a gap that we can't make, we have to use a flower petal as a glider. And we can use random wind pockets to keep us in the air long enough to make it to where we need to be. These mechanics are going to be used a ton in this game moving forward, so after using a second petal, we're able to grab the second piece we need for whatever Zoc is building for us. Only one more to go. After some more climbing around, we're able to use another petal to get over an extremely large gap and grab the final piece we need to complete the mission. We get another gold medal for this one and are treated with another cutscene. This scene shows Lucas bringing the supplies we just collected. Zoc and Lucas argue for a minute before Hova arrives and tells Zoc that the larva silk squirter couldn't harm other ants and he made a promise to make it for Lucas. He's not happy about it, but he ends up building it for us. Now having a new weapon in our inventory, we can take on the next mission from Kreela. I don't really know much about her, but she's in charge of the ants that go out and find food for the colony. She probably plays the least importance out of all the main characters in this game. At least that's what it felt like. We can get the mission Foraging in the Wild. In this mission, we have to collect 5 precious sweet rings. They're Fruit Loops. And bring them back to Kreela at the entrance to the area. Collecting them involves climbing, fighting, and flying to each area, and then carrying them back while defending ourselves from other insects. Not too challenging, but some fun stuff gets unlocked during this mission. Once we enter, we get a cutscene of Kreela telling us that we need to get the sweet rings back before the earwigs get them. The earwigs are massive compared to us, but they really don't do too much. They mainly want the sweet rings and will hit us to get them from us, so we have to fight them off and then run quickly away with the ring in our hands. They're a new enemy type and are used as a pest more than anything else in this game. Now the fun thing we unlock during this mission is all the telepathic skills we can do with other ants. When these glowing rings show up on the map, we can call an ant and they'll turn into something we need to advance in the area. The blue ring will cause all the ants to stack on top of each other, and we can use them as a ladder and climb to the top and jump to an area that we couldn't previously reach. Calling in ants usually works well, but sometimes we call them and they'll just run in circles and will never join the other ants that are already in position, causing us to have to stop calling in the ants and start from the beginning. It's not really that bad, just a minor annoyance when trying to finish these. The purple circles will cause the ants to stack up like a ladder like before, but this time they will swing back and forth until we get enough momentum, and then we can let go and get thrown to an area we normally couldn't get to. I like this one the best. I think it's the most important. The red circle causes the ants to build a bridge across a gap, and then we have to walk across it while holding our balance. This ends up being very useful. The last one we get for now is a yellow ring, and this allows the ants to stack up like before, but this time we flip from one thing to the next until we get across the gap that we're trying to cross. It's funny to watch Lucas's legs just shoot around while doing this. There is one more of these, but we don't unlock it for a while, so we'll talk about it when it happens. After using the yellow telepathic ability and beating some pill bugs, we're able to find the last sweet ring and return it, completing the mission and getting us another gold medal. After completing the mission, we're about 20% of our way through the game, and we can check our character status. That will show us what skills we have, what level our rock lifting is, what level our climbing skill is, and even how many points we need to get the next secret skill from collecting medals. Our next mission is given from Kreela and is called Relay Race. This mission has us competing in a race against 6 other ants as we speed through an obstacle course, using all the new telepathic skills we just got in the last mission. The idea of this is a good one, but I didn't feel like we needed this though, in my opinion. We did a lot of it in the last one. When we enter, we're explained the rules of the course in a cutscene, and then we jump right into this mission. We're part of the blue team and all the other ants move so much faster than we do. I haven't mentioned this yet, but this game has the worst dialogue during missions. The characters just repeat the same thing over and over again, and it's all extremely annoying. It's to the point that they don't even finish the line before starting the same exact line. I have no idea what the developers were thinking when they decided to add this dialogue at like such a frequent loop. In this race, the ants just keep saying Destroyer is going to lose the race or something, and it's really bad. Anyways, since this mission is short and easy, we're able to win the race and get another gold medal. Next up is another mission from Zoc called the Dart Bowl. In this mission, we have to collect a bone, a needle, and a cocoon so that Zoc can make us a brand new weapon. If you were wondering, the larva silk squirter just causes the enemy bugs to slow down, or they get stuck so that we can attack them easier. It's very helpful with flying enemies that we're going to meet in this mission. Once we enter this mission, we're shown where all the items we need are, and then we have to go around the desert to find them. We collect the first piece behind some rocks, then run into our first flying enemy, the mosquito. They'll fly around and shoot stuff at us. The silk shooter makes it much easier to deal with them. After dealing with some of them, we're able to find the second piece we need, and then we find another honeydew drop, which brings our health up to 6 red circles. The last thing we do that I haven't mentioned yet is that we can collect fire crystals, which I haven't talked about, but these are all over the place, and we need to collect 100 of them total. During this playthrough of this game, I didn't know that we needed all these to get the actual ending, so I would just get them when they were easy to get. But if I would have known that I needed them beforehand, I would have grabbed them as I was playing. Not knowing this information means that at the end, I'm gonna have to go through all the other levels again to collect 100. But that's for later, and we'll talk about it then. For now, we grab the last item we need and complete the mission with a silver medal. I don't remember, and I didn't see it in the footage, but I must have died during this mission. Maybe I fell into the water or lost to an enemy, I'm not sure, but we get silver for losing a life in that mission. Once completed, we get another cutscene where we find out that Zoc sent us to the Cactus Gardens to get that stuff because he wanted us to just be gone forever. But when he's talking to Hova about it, Lucas shows up with everything and he makes the dart bow for us. This weapon shoots darts at high speeds, and actually does damage, so this can really help when dealing with the mosquitoes. Next mission is from Hova called Lost Ants. In this mission, we have to find and rescue 6 ant children back to Hova. The children have been wounded and are extremely annoying. So I'm just going to skip over this one. Listen to how annoying these ant children are. Is this what being a parent is actually like? Because I don't want any part of it. Anyways, we're able to bring back all 6 ant children safely and get a gold medal for this mission. Next mission is one with Zoc again. And this time we need to collect 4 parts that are needed to build a powerful seed bomb in the mission called Seed Bomb. Since nothing new is really happening during the gameplay, we're going to speed through most of the missions from now on. Not only are we doing the same thing, but we're going back to the same areas of the map now too. When entering this mission, Zoc tells us to go to the glass garden to collect 4 pieces for a seed bomb. Lucas is starting to catch on to Zoc though, and even questions if Zoc's trying to get him hurt. We still do the mission and collect a flower, an acorn top, seeds, and I'm not sure what the last one is, but we get a gold medal for completing it. We get another cutscene where Zoc makes us the seed bomb, and we have a very awkward interaction with him. Then we walk away with our new item. The seed bomb can be thrown, and they explode, destroying some objects and damaging enemies, which makes them very useful. Next mission is with Fugak, and this one will be our first boss fight of the game. The mission is called Wasp Battle. Well, there's an exclamation point. And we have to use larva silk turrets and shoot down all the wasps that are attacking the caterpillars, and this happens right outside of the ant mound. We can spam fire the turret and it doesn't overheat, so we can just keep shooting. The objective is to shoot down 3 purple wasps in the first stage, then 4 in the second stage, and then 5 in the last stage. But the process is the same for each section. Little wasps will fly towards us and try to damage us, so we have to take them out if we don't want to lose any health. It's pretty simple, and once we complete the first stage of this mission, we get a mini cutscene showing Lucas moving to the next turret. This mission ends up being pretty fun. The purple wasps take 3 shots apiece to take down, but since you can spam shoot, this ends up being no problem at all. Once we take out the last 5 purple wasps, we get a cutscene where the wasps are chasing after Hova, and we go to save her. She tells us that she'll be fine and that we need to get out of there. We're then chased by a wasp and forced into our first boss fight of the game. It's a fight against a massive purple wasp. This fight is very simple. We need to use the sun reflecting down into the grass to light the firecracker that's right below the wasps. There are glass pieces that we have to push into place for this to happen though. We need all the glass as close to the wick of the firecracker, and that will light it, ending the boss fight. The purple wasp has 2 attacks that will harm us. The first, and the obvious one, is that it charges in and will attempt to sting us, which will end up doing pretty good damage to us. And then the second attack is when we're too far away and it almost kicks up like a dust storm or dirt storm, and a half ring of dirt comes towards us. All we need to do is push the glass into the sunlight, and at the beginning of the fight, I wasn't sure how to do that. I didn't know that we had to hit the glass with our staff, so I figured I was missing something. We hadn't done anything like this in the game at this point, so why did they add it now for the first boss fight? It's a weird choice. Anyways, when we hit the glass forward, if the wasp uses his dirt attack, it will push the glass backwards a little bit. So we need to act quickly when we're moving the glass forward. After a little bit, we're able to accomplish this feat. This was a really long section of the game. I died during this fight, but it just spawns you right back in with all your previous progress made. So it didn't really affect the outcome of this boss fight, besides that you get a silver medal for this mission instead of a gold one. Once the fight ends, we get a little cutscene showing the firecracker light, and then it shows the grass from above and this little explosion happens. All the other ants come to celebrate with us. We find out that we didn't kill the wasp, just scared them away for now. And then next up is Zoc's challenge. He wants us to prove ourselves by surviving the spider's lair, which will introduce a brand new enemy and one of the most annoying ones. This mission is actually very easy, but super long. We have to stay in the spider's lair and just take down wave after wave of spiders. They start with the basic purple ones that just attack us physically. The next wave is 3 more spiders, but these ones are brown and they can shoot webs at us, which is the most annoying thing in the game. I know it's meant to be, but not being able to move and just standing there for however long it takes to break free is absolute torture. After completing that round, we have to take out 5 more spiders, which is a mix of purple and brown, and then a wave of 6 with the same mix of spiders again. And then after taking that wave down, we're greeted by a giant black widow spider. It's massive and does a bunch of damage, but it's slow, and we can just throw seed bombs at it until it's not a problem anymore. But it sure is intimidating. Just look at that face, especially when they just drop down randomly and you're like, oh, now I have to fight this thing. It took us a while to take it down because I couldn't find any seed bomb reloads at first, but when we did, we took it down fast and got a gold medal for this mission. This leads to the next mission called Ant Traps that Hova gives us. We need to rescue 5 ants that are caught in ant traps around the level. When we see one, it activates the trap in the game, and then we need to use our seed bombs to destroy it. This mission takes place in Cactus Gardens again, and really the only difference is that the spiders are now in the area. So without any issues, we save all 5 ants that we needed to and completed the mission. We get another gold in this one, and I found out during this mission that we don't get credit for saving these ants until all the enemies that are around are also taken out. I didn't realize that up until this point of the game. This also unlocks the pheromone goggles that can show us hidden paths and the location of those fire crystals that I still wasn't collecting because I didn't know at the time. I used the goggles like 1 time in the entire playthrough of this game. Next up is Glass Garden Scout. This mission has us defeating a bunch of insects in the area so that Hova can do her job safely. We also use the last telepathic skill, which is yellow and green mixed circles. This allows us to stack up the ants like before, but this time we can slam into an object and knock it over. Like in this mission, we slam into a domino 3 times, and we're able to knock it down and make a bridge for us to get to a new section of the Glass Garden area of the game. Once we get over there, we find that Hova is on top of a flower being attacked by earwigs. We have to fight them off, and we can't let the flower take too much damage because that will cause Hova to fall off and be attacked by the earwigs. There is a timer that counts down, but these are simple enemies, and this section isn't that hard. About halfway through this part, Fugax jumps to another flower to help us out, but this ends up turning into the same situation that Hova's in, and for the remaining time, we have to make sure neither flower gets destroyed. The earwigs are so easy to take out, and this mission ended up being a breeze. Once we save them, we complete the mission and get another gold medal. Yay us! Now on to Kreela's last mission called Sugar Rush. This mission takes us into the house, and we have to move from section to section of the living room, collecting sugar cubes. There are 8 total, and the first area has 2 of them that we need to bring back before we're able to move to the next section. The first 2 are on what looks like a little table that would go next to a couch. We have to climb some glasses to get one, and besides the spiders chasing us, this ended up being pretty simple. The next area is on the couch, and this section has 3 sugar cubes. This takes place on some books and some toy blocks. Then the last area is a bunch of playing cards, markers, rulers that make up some sort of structure, and we can use them to traverse through that to finally grab the final sugar cube, cross a ruler, and bring it back, completing this mission and getting another gold medal. I didn't realize how good I did during my playthrough of this game. I feel like besides like 2 missions, I got all gold so far. After finishing that mission, we're 61% through the game, and we have all but 1 skill unlocked. Everything is upgraded, and we're as strong as we can be. Next mission is from Zoc called Fight the Frog. This is the second boss fight of the game. This opens with 3 cutscenes. The first one is Zoc leaving Lucas outside of the colony as a punishment for going into the house in our last mission. Then Zoc gets back to the colony, and Hova asks where Lucas is, and they have a heart-to-heart about how she wants Zoc to show her that he's a good ant and trustworthy, and that he's not always trying to get rid of Lucas, that is trying to grow and become a better person. Then we get a final cutscene where all the main characters are at the water, where there is a giant frog that ate Lucas and Zoc, but the frog spits them out because of some root that Zoc brought with him, and that leads into the boss fight with the frog. This frog is huge, and his health bar is shown using a tongue. The frog attacks in 2 ways, just like the wasp did. He can cause a wave of water to come out and hit us unless we're hiding behind rocks on the shore, and then he can also attack us directly with his tongue. Our goal is to shoot him in the eyes with our darts, and once we shoot both eyes, he'll close his eyes and open his mouth wide. With his mouth open, we need to throw a seed bomb into his mouth, causing actual damage to him. This is repeated 4 times and we win the fight. The problem is that we need to avoid the water, and that keeps us a distance away, but once I figured out the cycle, this boss fight ended up being very easy. The water also brings a bunch of health and ammo to the shore, so we never really have to worry about running out. The tongue is also easily countered by standing behind the rocks, so this fight is just patience and nothing else really. Once we win the fight, we find out that Fugak sent ants into the house to get more sugar cubes, and they haven't come back yet. He then asks us to go in there and help save the ants, and we get another gold medal for the frog fight, and we get our last Hova mission called Sticky Situation. This has us going into the human house and saving the ants that Fugak sent in there. They're all stuck in spiderwebs, so we need to break them down. There are a total of 8 ants to rescue, and this mission takes forever to complete. There is so much climbing up things and flying over to other sections, then climbing through something or down something. It just takes a while to complete. Plus the ants are afraid of everything, so we have to kill all the enemies so that they'll run away and be safe. And once all the other insects are dead, they'll finally return back to where they need to go. After saving all the ants, we find out that the last ant to save is Fugax himself. He came in after us and got stuck in a spiderweb. He really is worthless. We get another cutscene where we tell him to stop having our back, and then we set him free and get a silver medal on this one. I think I fell off and died somewhere during this mission, and I wasn't going to restart it. Next up is a mission called Pest Control. We have to go back to the spider's lair and save 5 ants that were stuck in webs there. Pretty simple and quick mission. The thing I wanted to point out during this section is that when I was entering one of the rooms of the spider lair, nothing loaded in. So I couldn't fight enemies, I couldn't save the ant, I couldn't use webs to climb and jump, and there was just nothing in the room. It was completely empty. When I ran out of the room and then came back in, this time everything loaded in and I was able to complete it. But I must have missed the trigger that loaded that room. Pretty cool, and I'm not sure if this is a known glitch or not. Let me know if this has ever happened to you while playing the game. After clearing the room, we triggered a cutscene that has a Black Widow attack us, but we're able to avoid it and it runs into the final room of the lair, meaning we're gonna have to fight it before we can save the final ant in this mission. Once in there, we get a little scene of the Black Widow coming down. We free the ant first and then hit the Black Widow with a handful of seed bombs, taking it out, completing the mission with another gold medal. This mission feels like it should have been earlier in the game because it was super easy and very short in comparison. Last mission in the game is called Help Wanted. In this mission, we have to convince the wasps to help us take out the exterminator that would kill all the insects that are in the yard. This mission starts with a couple cutscenes. The first one is about the exterminator arriving, and we find out that Lucas was the one that called him there originally. We also find out here that we need fire crystals so that we can return to our normal size. Then we get a cutscene of the exterminator telling us that he'll be back to take out all the pests. This is like a flashback from when we were normal size. And then finally we get a cutscene where they decide that we're going to shrink the exterminator down in size, like they did to Lucas, but in order to do that we need to reach his ear, and we're going to need to ask the wasp to help us out. This opens up the mission where we have to get a cherry bomb and bring it back to destroy the glass that is blocking our path to the wasp's nest. We need to knock down a domino to get to the cherry bomb, and then we have to carry it back to the glass to set it off. The only part of this that is hard is the other insects will attack us, and then we'll drop the cherry bomb. So we need to take them all out before we bring this into the final destination. It's really not that bad, and it doesn't take all that long either. Just take out some mosquitoes and some pill bugs, jump our way back to the area, and leave the cherry bomb. This section also has a time limit, but it's plenty of time to get where we need to be. The only problem that I ran into is that the cherry bomb is rather large, so if we run into anything, we drop it. And sometimes it's a challenge just to pick this thing back up. I don't know what it is, but Lucas just doesn't want to grab it. We're able to get it to the end, and we get a cutscene of the cherry bomb going off, and this opens up the second section of this area. After doing some platforming, we get to the wasp nest, and the leader tells us that he doesn't believe us about the exterminator, but that we should talk about it over lunch. Which is definitely a threat, but in good timing, another wasp crashes down, tells us that the other nest is completely destroyed, and then he ends up dying. The leader of the wasp tells us to get on his back because we have a war to win, and then we're put into the final boss of the game, the battle against the exterminator. This boss fight is a strange one, and the idea is to fly around him and shoot specific areas until his health goes all the way down. Once we get his health down for one area, we go to the next area and do the same thing. The aiming is a bit strange in this section, but landing hits isn't that hard. We don't control the path that the wasp takes, but we have to move up and down and left and right to avoid getting hit during the fight. I didn't know I had to move the wasp, so I actually died my first attempt through this section. It's not a problem because we don't actually die, and our progress on this boss fight ended up being the same, so we could do this as many times as we needed. This is one of the longer boss fights though. During the first section, we need to destroy his headphones. That's our goal. Seems easy enough. We have an aiming cursor, and as long as it's green, we can just shoot, and we will land all of our shots. So that makes this part much easier than if we needed to line it up correctly. After dying, our second attempt goes much better. We're able to avoid the clouds of chemicals and the cactuses in the garden. Once his health is down from the dart bow, we change where we're flying at, and we need to use our larva silk shooter to shoot his goggles so that he can't see us anymore. This is a much larger target, and this section ends up being much easier. This time we fly through a tree on the far side of the yard, and then we come up from the grass before we finally get back to him. This section is easier, but we run out of ammo so much quicker than with the dart gun, because we only have 20 shots with the silk shooter, meaning we have to make sure we get the ammo refill when we're flying to the tree. After 2 rounds of doing this, we go into the final stage of this boss fight. We now have to fly behind him and shoot him in the butt with our dart bow. We fly near the house during this section, and I have 3/4 of a red circle of health, so I need to be extremely careful during this section. Our dart bow does amazing damage during this part, and his health goes away so much easier this time. We also gain a little bit of health from our passive health regeneration, so I was able to get back to 1.5 red circles of health. I think this was the easiest part of this boss fight. Once his health is all the way down, we get another cutscene. The wasp that we're riding decides to sting him in the butt. This causes the exterminator to freak out, and then he runs away claiming that he'll be back. And then we get this scene where we get our silver medal since I died once at the beginning of this boss fight. That's the last mission of the game, but we're not done with this one yet. Remember when I said we needed to collect all 100 fire crystals to get the ending? It's that time now. I didn't want to have to do this, but to get the actual ending and to roll credits, we needed to. Before that though, we get another cutscene of the kids at the beginning of the game asking what happened to Lucas. Then the game tells us that we need to collect all 100 fire crystals. The nice thing that this game does for us is tell us which areas have fire crystals left in them. So I set out for over an hour to collect all the remaining fire crystals, and one by one we collect them. Then another, then another, then another, until we slowly started getting them all. 71, 79, 89, 93, and then finally, after having a hard time finding the last one, we threw a rock and got the last fire crystal, triggering the final cutscene of the game, where the queen from her chambers tells us that we no longer need to be there. We finally learn the ways of being an ant. We have a heart-to-heart with all the main ants. Then we give a big hug to Fugak. Zoc gives us a potion to return to normal size, but we're told to drink it far away from the ant mound so that we don't destroy anything. After all the goodbyes, we leave the ant colony and the screen fades to black. Then the credits roll and we completed another game for our GameCube challenge. Now we need to find out if I would recommend this game. So would I recommend this game? When I first started playing this one, I thought I would recommend this game. It has charm, the missions are pretty fun, and there is a lot to do in this game. But the more I played this, the less I liked it. The boss fights were fun and had some good ideas, but I think it just overstayed its welcome for me. Having to collect all the fire crystals to get the final cutscene and have the credits roll really took me out of this one. So I don't think I'm going to recommend it. But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you want to know what game we're playing next, stick around. But if not, thanks for watching. check out the last GameCube game that we completed in our challenge. That's on the screen now. If you made it this far, make sure to subscribe to the channel because it helps me out. Like and share this video so that we can get more eyes on this challenge. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. We have our GameCube game list up. We have our random number generator up. And on the count of 3, we're going to find out what we're playing next. So in 3, 2, 1, 52, which is Bust a Move 3000.